there's a Western tradition of reducing ethics into power or into politics. We see this with Tharsimachus in Plato's dialogue, when he says that justice is the advantage of the stronger. But we also have more sophisticated versions in Marx, Nietzsche, and Freud. Marx sees ethics as a way of the ruling class propagating an ideology that will help it exploit and keep the other classes complacent. Nietzsche sees ethics as a result of resentment of the weak against the strong. And Freud sees it as a result of relationship in the family. So the child is much weaker than the father, and therefore he has no choice but to internalize the values that the father gives him, forming the superego. So we have this tradition also in history as well as international relationship, where there is the theory of realism. Every actor is motivated by power and rationality, and that's the only things that really matter. Ethics does not play into it. So faced with this both intellectual tradition as well as history, what can we say about ethics in human life and in history? And I think there are a couple of situations where ethics does play an important role. One of them is when there is a sudden crisis in legitimization. If we take regime changes, several regime changes, like the fall of the Tsar in Russia, Russian Revolution, or if we take even right wing's attempts at changing the regime, like the attack on Capitol Hill that we had in the previous year, or the Iranian Revolution, what we see often is that ethics plays a big role in what happens. Suddenly, the population does not view the regime as legitimate, and the way that the regime behaves truly impacts how active the masses or people will be in undermining the regime. A good classic case is the 1905 revolution in Russia. You had a protest there, a peaceful protest by Father Gapon, with workers who demanded very basic things like an 8-hour week. And they were carrying crosses, they were singing hymns for the Tsar, they viewed the Tsar as the little father, while God is the big father. And the Tsar, instead of talking with them, negotiating with them, he sent his forces to brutally repress them, which undermined his legitimacy severely. Other things added to that, World War I, etc., but that was a basic undermining of legitimacy because of something ethical. We see this also with corruption. Corruption, for example, in Iran, or corruption in the US, deeply undermines the legitimacy of the ruling elite, and as such, the ethics of it has a powerful role in how politics is affected.